Hello everybody, I'm back with another video. Today I was feeling especially dynamic and I even made a little intro video for this video. What I'm going to talk about today is the volume control, which is what you're looking at right here, or rather the lowly volume control. And some people have a misconception about this. I had talked to somebody before and the guy told me that, well, when he puts his volume control at the halfway point, which I've marked here, it would be putting out half of the total wattage of the receiver, or it could be an amplifier too. For example, if this would be a 100-watt receiver, then if you put it at the halfway point you would have 50 watts, and that simply, in my experience, is not true. So what does the volume control do? It basically controls how much signal is going to be at the output of the receiver or amplifier. And we normally have one volume control that basically controls both channels, and we also say that is called gained. Gained meaning basically it controls both channels at the same time or simultaneously. You can also imagine the volume control being like a, let's say, a water valve. If the valve would be wide open, maximum amount of water would be coming through, and if the valve is basically turned closed, then you have the minimum amount of water coming through. Now, when that guy told me that, I didn't really argue with the guy, because basically, well, most people don't listen anyways. They've got their mind already made up, and it doesn't matter how much experience you have or how much of an expert you are, the people are going to believe what they believe. You know, it's suddenly like football season starts and suddenly there's 500,000 professional coaches in the country that know better, for example. Or now with this pandemic worldwide, suddenly there's 1 billion virologists throughout the whole world that aren't trained for this, have never brought out a single piece of paper on this, but of course they all know best. So again, I didn't argue with the person, but my point is really that when you say, if you increase if I'm turning now the volume control to the 50% position, right, that doesn't mean that the volume, or the power output, is going to be increased also to 50%. That's not the way it works. So again, I swear this is going to be the last time. So if we turn the volume control counterclockwise, that reduces the signal. Now, if we wouldn't have a volume control in the receiver, the music would always be coming out full blast. So how much volume control or how much power we're going to have at the 50% position, really that depends upon the volume control taper. And taper is just the relationship between the position and the change of resistance. And the way most are designed is that the volume increases rapidly in the first half, according to my experience. Now I'm going to go ahead and prove this on using the scope and using a dummy load to prove this. You can take a guess now. I'm at the halfway point. What's it going to be? Now this is 15-watt receiver, so I can guarantee you it's not going to be putting out a lot, but I can tell you that for sure. I have this at the halfway point now. It's not going to be anywhere near 7.5, basically 7.5 watts right here at this point. Remember, at the total clockwise end we're having 15 watts, and here, if that guy would have been correct, we would be having 7.5, and of course down all the way here we would be having 0. And I venture to say that's not correct. I'm gonna go ahead and show that now. And right here in the back, I can't really focus in close on this. You can see I have scope probes hooked up across the old dummy load here, and this is the input from my signal generator. It's going into the aux input, and I think to get 15 watts, we're going to be reading about, I think it's around 11 volts RMS, somewhere around there. So I'm really cranking it up right now. I'm getting about 11 volts RMS putting out about 15 watts per channel. That's maxed out, and my volume control is turned all the way to the right. It's turned all the way clockwise. Now we can take a look at the volume control. I turned the volume to the halfway point, or rather halfway position, and you can see my mark there. And here are the results. At the halfway point, we're getting about 840 millivolts signal. So basically that proves my point right there. I'm going to go ahead and figure out the watts now. So we're going to figure out the wattage now, and we take that 840 millivolts and square that, basically times it by itself. So 840 times 0.840 equals 0.0756. Then we divide that by 8 because we got an 8 ohm load, and that gives us here 0.0882 watts. So basically we're a long ways from 1 watt. Now I'm going to see what position I need to put the volume control at in order to get 1 lousy watt output. I basically have the receiver set up as before, and we'll go ahead and turn up the, or rather turn the volume control until we reach 2.83 volts, and that's basically going to be 1 watt. So I just had to change the scope a little bit, and right about, well, let's say right about here basically is about 1 watt. Now we'll take a look at the volume control. Now here's the 1 watt position right there. I guess if this would be a clock, it would be about the 1 o'clock position. Now I have to mention that when I did this test earlier, when I turned up the receiver all the way to max, when I had it at maximum output, that assumed that I had the volume control was turned all the way up, and then I slowly increased the signal coming from the signal generator so I would reach maximum output right before clipping. So the 2.8, what we have here, 2.8 volts RMS, and if we've got the 8 ohm load, we can remember that being basically 1 watt. I just know this from experience. I don't remember if it was exactly 2.8 or 2.82 or 2.83. It really doesn't matter. You're going to get always like 1 watt. So you just have to, I think once you learn that, then you're going to remember that down the road. Now I hope this wasn't too boring and too long, and that's enough for today. Thanks for watching.